The CFL Gambling Podcast, win totals episode for the East Division on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. You can win 100 times the amount of money you enter with Underdog Fantasy. Pick 'em. Sign up today with the promo code TCESGPN to claim your special pick plus first time deposit offer up to $250 in bonus cash. That's underdogfantasy.com, promo code TCESGPN. We're also brought to you by the Mega Memorial Merch Sale. 15% off everything in the SGPN merch store with the promo code SGPN May. So hop on over there, folks. And remember, as always, to let it ride.
Hey, everybody. Joe Theismann here. You're listening to SGPN. So do this. Let it ride.
Welcome to the CFL Gambling Podcast. Yes, we are here, ready. We got win totals numbers, so we are just firing away as the season obviously inches closer and closer. There was preseason games going on. I don't know if you got a chance to tune in. And folks, maybe you're tuning in and don't realize that there's preseason games and want to watch. You can watch via the CFL's website. So hop on over there and check that stuff out. And well, also I would say go check out our futures episode. We did a futures episode as far as, our favorite bets to win the Grey Cup. So hop on over there and check those out, and just hop on over to YouTube and type in CFL Gambling Podcast and you will get us. So what are you doing, folks? That's youtube.com/@CFL Gambling Podcast SGPN. So hit that like, hit that subscribe. If you're wondering who the hell you're listening to, that is fair. My name is Colby Swinging Database Dan, aka Pick Dundee. That's not a pick. This is a pick.
He was raised in the land down under, where a man thinks on his feet, speaks with his fists, and lives by his wits.
When Dundee happened, he was a superstar.
Nobody knows nothing. Somebody knows. Double the price, but no one touches Dundee.
Yes, we got games going on, preseason games. The road to the Grey Cup has begun for 2024, and we are here to bring it to you. We love the Canadian Football League. A deep love. If you didn't check out the last episode, we go back on and Joe Theismann intro, former Argo himself. Let's go. I am joined by my co-host. He is the Old-Fashioned Football Podcast, which you should be checking out. Who doesn't like drinking and football? I feel like that's pretty much the story of planet Earth. Well, at least when it comes to America. That podcast is fantastic. Give it up for Justin Mark, aka J Mark. How you doing, buddy?
Doing good. Dodged tornadoes all afternoon, so the house is still standing, no damage. So I guess I can't complain.
There you go. I mean, do tornadoes are probably in Canada, and I just probably don't realize that.
Yeah, I guess I don't know. I haven't thought about it. They might get some tornadic weather, but
tornadic reference. I like weather. This. Well, speaking of tornadoes, some would say the Montreal Alouettes were quite the tornado last season in the postseason. And it's going to be interesting to see if they can, because we're talking East Division win totals today. First off, just the fact we got win totals. I asked this last week, and then you DM me, and I actually missed your first DM there. But I was actually like weary of whether we would, are we going to get win totals? And folks, they're out there. You even got props, all right, which I'm sure we'll address in a future episode as well. But I mean, gambling is just helping out the planet. Like I said, I don't know that this would be available a couple years ago to find CFL odds, even if you're in Vegas. I feel like it would be hard to find. So score one for the good guys here. Shout out to Dean in the chat. Easier to dodge tornadoes in that no-turn lawnmower. Correct. What's that top speed on that thing?
I guess I don't know. I haven't clocked it, but it is a commercial zero turn, so it goes a little bit faster than just the normal ones.
I'm still waiting for the TV show Cops to come back. I understand that it went away, bad press after the George Floyd shit. And I look, I thought it was an overreaction to cancel the show, but obviously that was some terrible police work. And but at the same time, one of my favorite things to do late night, you know what I mean? I'm still doing work, wife's asleep, Forensic Files or Cops. And the amount of Cops episodes I saw in Florida where someone is running from the police on a fucking lawnmower. Hilarious. You know what I mean? Like, just it's a gift that I miss. And for some reason, I feel like Cops was just stationed in Florida. I mean, you got the occasional Vegas, occasional California, occasional Arizona, but I just feel like majority of it, Florida, and just debauchery. But yeah, so you haven't ran from the police yet in your no-turn lawnmower.
I have not yet. No, I'll put it on the bucket list though.
Yeah, just know that. Well, and I would too. I think, you could take that lawnmower off road. I'm not sure how the cop cars will do off road, so maybe you got something there. And speaking of Forensic Files, one of the things I enjoyed about when I first started to know you was that you knew a Forensic Files that I had watched. You were actually like, you knew the human being involved.
Yeah.
So wow. Awesome. And he played fantasy football with you, I think. See what we're talking about, folks? You're probably wondering what I tuned in to the CFL Gambling Podcast to hear some stuff. And now we're talking Forensic Files and Cops. All right. Let's just get to it. Let's jump in on this thing because I was happy to see, a lot of the odds. What's up, Drunken Irishman? And folks, hop on over in the chat. Canadian Football League about to kick off. And I was glad to see them say, I don't know if you saw that. They tweeted out saying, we're keeping our traditional kickoff. We have a team.
You're going to be happy about that.
We have a team reviewing the. Let's just cut the bullshit out of here. We have a team reviewing. You don't need that team. You don't need that fucking team. All right. This has been happening for a long time. We're okay with kickoffs. A real kickoff that should happen the way the game was intended to. Get this XFL/new NFL kickoff bullshit out of here. What's your take on that? You like that kickoff or what? What's your take on the kickoff?
The new NFL one, not at all. I
Yeah.
mean, you're talking to a Chicago Bears fan that held his breath every time Devin Hester touched the ball. Those days are dead with the new kickoff. You're not going to have those electric plays. So yeah, not a fan of it at all.
Well, the NFL had already messed up too by moving it back some, so it was a lot of touchbacks. But to me, they just need to grab their balls and say, hey, this sport, we make it as safe as we can, but at the same time, we don't want to affect the sport, which you're clearly doing with this Kotkaniemi rule. All right.
Yeah.
But I'm glad to see the CFL say we're keeping the kickoff the way it's been over the history of the Canadian Football League. So, and pretty much every other form of football. So, get into talking about, each one of these win totals. I want to tell you folks out there that you are listening to the CFL Gambling Podcast, part of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network, and it's the biggest week in racing. Yes, the Indy 500. I just watched the qualifiers. The Monaco Grand Prix, which, folks, I need to go to Monaco. Someone want to loan me a couple mil. And the Coke 600 are all going on this weekend. And Rod and Cody from the NASCAR Gambling Podcast and the Formula One Gambling Podcast. That's the F1 Gambling Podcast. They have you covered. All right. Make sure to join their Kyle Larson diecast car giveaway as well. It's free to enter. Just go to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/race. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/race to register. And then make sure you subscribe to the NASCAR Gambling Podcast and the F1 Gambling Podcast. Plus, we're running a mega Memorial Day merch sale, 15% off everything in the merch store. Promo code SGPN May. Hop on over there. We got Old Fashioned Football Podcast t-shirts. And we're going to get some CFL stuff going. So buckle up, get ready. And looking forward to it. All right. We are back on the CFL Gambling Podcast. And look, we got spreadsheets and everything here as I have, loaded up somewhere in here. How do I figure this out? There we go. We're gonna start with the old Hamilton Ticats. This one was the most shocking to me. Let's talk about this for a second. I know we both like Hamilton this year. If you didn't listen to last week's episode, but
yeah.
Okay, try to understand this one for me. it's plus 180 to win the East, right?
Mm-hmm.
But plus 800 to win the Grey Cup.
Yeah, I mean, it's just they don't think that there's any way they could beat the Bombers or the Lions, I guess, would be your two favorites over on the other side
I
of the
just
ball.
feel like they haven't done the math on this though, because I feel like it should be. So Scott Milanovich, I know their record last season was 8-10, but Scott Milanovich is the brand new head coach. He was, interim. They have a brand new general manager. They were the 4th ranked offense in 2023, having 353.5 yards per game, and the 6th rated defense. You would think when you say 4th ranked offense, 6th ranked defense, and when you look at the margin to me between like 6-3 or 6-4 defensively, you're talking like 4 or 5 yards. So it's pretty shocking that 8-10 was considering they had a top 4 offense. I know things didn't break right for them in a way, but either way, we both love this play from the start. I know this is one that we're going to be talking about. The over under is set at 8.5 wins. You're plus 180 to win the East. I don't even know. Do you actually think it's worth taking a plus 180 on the to win the East?
I mean, if you're going to take them to win something, you might as well take the cup, right? If
it's that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't urge you to wager on the divisional win, but I'll tell you this: the over 8.5 wins. They went 8-10 last year with everything going wrong. You know what I mean? So like, I think this is a no brainer. You look at some of the things they've done. Obviously Bo Levi Mitchell, the former June Jones quarterback there at SMU, and his health I think is so key. But they did resign Taylor Powell. And to me, when you look at James Butler, I know you're a big James Butler guy. To me, Milanovich has a history back to his days with Ricky Ray of just being pretty darn good with veteran quarterbacks. So you look at what they also signed 2 Argos defensive linemen. I think will be key because that's another thing. Obviously, the defense was the bigger weakness on the team last year, but even with that, I kind of think those stats, like I said, when it's just a couple yards difference. It's not like a big jump where you see like your number 1 and 2 defenses are way ahead of everybody else. I think they're in the mix regardless. And here's one thing I'll say. The East is worse than it was last year, in my opinion. When you look at the hits Toronto took and maybe Hamilton comes up, maybe Ottawa comes up, but I love the over 8.5 because you're going to be going against you reside in the East. So you get all those teams. So love the over 8.5. The receivers I think are this offense. I actually wouldn't, if you told me that the Hamilton Ticats led the CFL in 2024 in offense, I would not be shocked. Now, I would be a little bit, I guess, on like, I think they're a top 3 offense. Now, if it's 1, if it's 2, because Winnipeg seems like the obvious one. But it wouldn't shock me if they're number 2. What do you make of the over under 8.5 wins here, and just in general what they got going into 2024?
Yeah, I mean, if you think about last year, they start with Bo Levi Mitchell. He was injured in the second game, I think it was. Then Matt Schultz comes in. He plays some games. He gets injured, and they go to third stringer Taylor Powell. To go through like that injury adversity and to still pull out 8 wins, I think is just speaks to the program really. And then with Bo Levi Mitchell coming back, being healthy, so far in training camp and everything, they said he looks healthy, he looks good. But both he and the coaching staff have said a lot of great things about Taylor Powell. There's a reason they re-signed him and extended him. He signed, I think, through 2025, and he can make up to like 90,000. That's good money for a backup quarterback in the CFL. So I think they're confident with the quarterback room, even if Bo Levi does go down again. To me, the kicker is James Butler here, though. 3rd in rushing last year. I pointed out last week, 15th in receptions out of everybody, not out of running backs, out of everybody. This is a guy that he's going to be able to bail out the quarterback if he needs to, going to take screens, some cuts. He's a guy that I think is really a game changer and is going to help this offense succeed and win those games that they were close to winning last year. So the 8.5 to me, the over is easy.
Yeah, I'm gonna bet the hell out of this, and to me, it's like I think that the offense, when you consider what you just said, all those injuries, to still finish as a top 4 offense.
Yeah.
When there's 9 teams, is one of the better offenses in the league by definition. And they went through that much adversity. You add, Milanovic, which I think now he gets more time to, I've been watching Scott Milanovic since he played quarterback at Maryland. I grew up very close to that where I think he's a good football mind. He's been in the NFL and coaching staffs, and he's had success in the CFL as well from a coaching standpoint and a player standpoint. So I think that, but then you beef up that defense a little bit, adding Barlow and Hendricks from the Argos on the defensive line that combined, I think, for 14 sacks, so to me, the defensive numbers should be better. And the offense, to me, it wouldn't be that. I would not be that surprised if they finished the number 1 or number 2 offense in the league. I'll put it like that. Like I kind of expect them to be a top 3 offense.
Yeah, I could absolutely see it. I looked at all these win totals, and I did my little, even wrote out win-loss for every game, went through week by week. This one is by far my favorite one to bet the over on. I have them winning 11 games, so that gives you a 2.5 game, I guess, margin of error there. I love the over. Yeah,
me too. Like I said, I know they got like a brand new linebacking core, and they've revamped the D line. But to me, I think they're just in a good spot. Like if anything, you can't get the new guys. I think will be better than last year's defense. So, and once again, even if injuries play a role, if they won 8 with that last year, you were a half game off from hitting that. And like we said, we got the Argos situation going on. We got the Alouettes with the potential Grey Cup hangover. I just think even worst case scenario, Bo Levi Mitchell's out for, the first few, half the season. Let's say the injury's longer than what we think. I still think 8.5. It's another year. Taylor Powell with Milanovic's offense and understanding what he wants from his quarterback. Smash spot. It's probably my favorite play regarding all of the over unders. And that even includes the West division, that we'll do next week.
Yeah.
But man, agreed. I mean, the receiving core, when you add Butler out of the backfield with Smith, who's a beast, and then Bayless and Keandre Smith, the other Smith, and Terry Godwin, like I really think this offense can fly. So just be prepared for a nice little lock there. Let's jump on over and talk about the Montreal Alouettes, the defending Grey Cup champs. Jason Moss, great first year, 11-7. You win a Grey Cup. Unbelievable. The over under set at 10.5 wins, plus 120 to win the East. Once again, I see zero value in taking them plus 120 to win the East, knowing how they didn't even win the East last year. They had the 6th ranked offense, which is fascinating. You had one of the worst, by definition, you had one of the worst offenses in the Canadian Football League, and you won a Grey Cup. It's because the defense, which was ranked 3rd at 333.9 yards per game, they got after it. And I think that was pretty much, they caught lightning in a bottle, so to speak, too. I feel like they just got hot at the right time and they closed out the season well. The team, to me, like they lost Austin Mack, a wideout, to the Falcons. They lose Jake Hardy to the BC Lions. They lose running back William Stanback to the BC Lions as well. So like they took some hits on the offensive side of the ball, and the offense wasn't great last year.
Yeah. So
I know that they got some guys. I mean, Cody Fajardo, I don't know where you stand with him at the quarterback spot. Is he your Luis Sanchez for this for this league, perhaps?
Luis Perez. Yeah. He's kind of close to it. I'm not a Fajardo fan.
But they're returning Walter Fletcher, and I know they're counting on him. Tyler Snead is my guy. He is from ECU. You bring back Tyson Philpott, the Grey Cup MVP, but and they get Julian Grant back from injury a year ago. So the receivers are nice, but what were you gonna say?
Oh, I can't help notice you played that clip instead of the I am an ECU fan.
It's true. That's true. Working on getting that on the soundboard. Look, I do think Snead's a baller. I think, he'll continue to grow in this league, but I just don't know how you look at this year's offense and say it's better than last year's offense. Now, okay, Julian Grant back from injury, but yeah, to me, like I said, I think you caught lightning in a bottle, expectations. And then there's the element of just, you're the hunted now. The team that wins the championship, and it doesn't matter the sport, you become the hunted. So every game you're going to get the best shot of every other team. I'm under the 10.5 wins. I kind of like the play, but I mean, I don't know that I'm actually going to wager on this one because I just love the Hamilton one. And to me, with the uncertainty going on in Toronto, I feel like maybe Montreal could steal a couple wins that I don't think they would get, but I'm going to lean under. Don't know if I'm going to run to the window for this one though. What do you make of this one?
Yeah, I mean, so I assume there's going to be some actual like CFL fans, people that follow CFL watching this. However, I know that you have a following in the gambling community that might be just some degens that are like, hey, I want to listen and see what they want to bet. So if you're not familiar with the CFL, finishing 6th in offense, there's only 9 teams. Cody Fajardo was 5th in passing yards and passing touchdowns. There's only 9 teams, so that isn't as good as it sounds. The running back room, to me, I don't know if Fletcher gets a start. Jayshawn Antwi that was there last year, maybe he gets a start. I'm not sure. It's kind of a mess, to be honest. And they won 11 last year. I did have them winning 10 this year when I did the mock of the season. So for me, it's so close. I'm right there with you. I don't like betting it at all. I could see them getting either 10 or 11. So it's right in between that 10 and a half.
And you can build the case of like, hey, they might be able to beat Toronto without Chad Kelly and some of the guys they lost on the defensive side of the ball. But at the same time, you could say, wait, but they're going to be getting Hamilton at a much healthier team, and Ottawa can't be much worse than they were last year. So I lean under, but it's not like I have strong conviction on this one. I might bet it just because I love betting, but yeah, I just like comparing this to Hamilton, I think it's just such a gigantic difference as far as the way I feel about the Hamilton one. Put your mortgage on that. Let's go. All right, let just load up. I don't know. The defense still seems strong to me though. I don't feel like they took a lot of hits on the defensive side of the ball, so the defense will still probably be one of the better defenses. But still, I still say you're the hunted. You look at some of those close games they won throughout the year down that stretch. I just think it's not sustainable. I feel the same way when an NFL team's like, remember the Giants run when they upset the Patriots both times. They were wild card teams. I think the Steelers did this too one year in the early 2000s where they were a wild card team and a lot of times you'll see them not even make the playoffs the next year because they just caught lightning in a bottle. They become the hunted the next year. And then, you end up in a situation where, were they really the best team last year? They won the Grey Cup. They deserved the Grey Cup. But you look at Toronto and their record, you look at Winnipeg and their record. I think it's hard to, I think you can make a decent argument. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if to me, this is a pretty decent play, especially considering the uncertainty of Toronto. The Ottawa Redblacks. Actually, before I get to the Ottawa Redblacks, let me tell the folks out there that the CFL Gambling Podcast is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Yes, the NBA playoffs are here, and our sponsor, Underdog Fantasy, wants to make it a lot more interesting. Underdog Fantasy is the easiest place to play fantasy sports. Playing their pick'em game is as simple as selecting higher or lower on player stats like points, rebounds, assists, and much, much more. Make entries of all basketball or, NBA essentially, or you can mix and match across sports. UFL, the other, spring football league going on right now. You can play NHL playoffs, always awesome. And, or MLB. So hop on over there. I love how you can cross sports. You can't do that at, a lot of places. So hop on over there. You can win up to 100 times the amount of money you enter. It's a ton of fun, people. And Underdog's available in 30 different states, including California and Texas. And of course, the great country of Canada. So what are you doing, folks? Hop on over there. They also just launched their champions, their player versus player format for the state of Florida. Check it out. So sign up. And when you do, sign up with the promo code TCESGPN to claim your special pick plus first time deposit offer up to $250 in bonus cash. UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code TCESGPN. All right. We are back and we are talking Ottawa Redblacks. Bob Dice got his work cut out for him. 4-14, the 9th ranked, the worst offense in the league, 318.6 yards per game. the second worst defense in the league. The over under set at 6.5 wins, plus 152. I'm sorry, plus 750 to win the East. I was thinking about this. Hear me out. I know they suck last year, but if you're gonna take the over, which I am, I like the over. Should we sprinkle plus 750 to win the East? Is that? I mean, like, to me, knowing the concerns, like knowing the top two teams from a season ago, Montreal and Toronto both have, like, Montreal, we think they caught lightning in a bottle. Like I just said, Giants, Steelers. I almost think like every game is going to be a close game with Montreal. I don't think they're like way better than the rest of the league. Then you add in Toronto's crazy offseason. I mean, am I crazy to think plus 750? I know that the stats don't really back me up now. I know we could address what they've done. Dustin Crum obviously had a great stretch there. I took him a few times. I really got hot in CFL picks last year. I think I hit 18 straight games at one point. And Dustin Crum was definitely winning me some money, but I feel like they kind of figured him out late in the year. Drew Brown comes in from Winnipeg. They still have the ageless wonder, Jeremiah Masoli. They lost Devontae Williams. Their running back. I think he's out for the year. So it's either going to be Raquel Armstead, the former Temple Owl, Kylan Hill, or Tyler Hoosman. Justin Hardy, another East Carolina wideout that's a stud and a winner at life. And then they went out in the free agent world and got Dominic Rhymes. I'm just saying, plus 750. Why not? Why not? Am I crazy?
If you like the over, you're not crazy. I personally don't like the over here, but if you do, I think you have to sprinkle some on that because of the uncertainties. Also, right before we went live, I decided let's post this to Reddit, see if we can get some of the Reddit crew that we love through the UFL.
Catch the sarcasm.
Right. But we had a Bombers fan comment saying, I personally have Redblacks being the top dogs of the East, mostly due to the quarterbacks. Not having Kelly hurts the Argos, not having Austin Mack will hurt Alouettes, and the Ticats are the Ticats. Based on the prop bets, we just saw that, or looking into, I guess, the prop bets, it sounds like Drew Brown is going to be their starter. We talked last week about how Winnipeg, those guys are coached up a lot. And Dominic Rhymes, I mean, that dude is a beast. And I love the story behind Raquel Armstead, too. This is a guy that got drafted by the Jaguars. Then he got COVID that they thought was going to just retire him. It was so bad. But now he's back in. He was in the USFL, I think it was. Maybe it was XFL. He got a little shot there. Now in the CFL. Got to love his grit to keep at it. But no, I think if you like the over, you got to take the plus 750 to win the East.
And hear me out here. I know they were 0-10 in the East last year, but 7-point loss at Montreal, who wins the Grey Cup, right? They beat Winnipeg in one of the games last year. They won at Calgary. 4-point loss to Hamilton. 2-point loss to Saskatchewan. 1-point loss to both their losses to Montreal by 8 points total. 4-point loss at BC. This team, with the exception of the October 9th Montreal game, where Montreal did get them 29-3, they kind of were in a lot of these games. So, I mean, you are talking. I know he brings this up and we laugh at the numbers, but you're really talking about a play here, a play there. And they could win. That's why I love the over here, because I think this whole division is a little more unknown than it's been in some time to me. And I love the over just because, like I said, they were in that many close games, and I feel like the top of the East is down a little bit. Now, maybe but I am high on Hamilton. I think they're going to be the team that actually wins it regular season. We'll see. But I'm all over the over, and I'm sprinkling that plus 750 to win the East. Let's go.
I'm on the under. They won 4 games last year. I know it was a rough year for them. I have them winning 5-6 this year. The crazy thing, like, Your home field advantage is supposed to be something that you can count on. This team rarely wins at home. They won against the Elks in 2021. That was their first win at home in 2 years. And they're on about the same streak where they have not won a home game in like, I don't know, I think it's like 15, 16 games. It's unbelievable that they cannot get the job done in front of their home crowd. And I think they're just going to continue that trend of struggling at home. And then it's hard to go on the road and get wins too. So that's why I'm on the under. I think they did some nice things. I just don't think it's going to be enough. But like I said, if you like the over, you have to take the plus 750 to win the East.
And I mean, to your point, they are 14-54 over the last 4 seasons. So I mean, it's a bold thing for me to say this is a smash spot, but I when you can, I don't understand how, but like, okay, how many? So if you're gonna say 11, let's say, I mean, look at this: 7-point loss to Montreal, 8-point loss to Hamilton, 4-point loss to Hamilton, 2-point loss to Saskatchewan, 1-point loss to Montreal, 10-point loss to Edmonton, 3-point loss to Hamilton, 4-point loss to BC. 5-point loss to Toronto. Like, they were in a lot of games, man. It's just, you got that. And that's where coaching and experience matter. And maybe they brought in the right guys. They went out, they got a kid I like in the draft, Nick Mardner from Auburn, who I think could be a difference maker here. And I know the fans want to win here. So I don't know. I know 14-54 is 14-54 over the past 4 seasons, but I think it's worth a shot. I'll say this: over the past 4 seasons, if coming into a CFL season, I think there's more unknown in the East than any of those years. You think that's fair? Yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And to your point, 7-point games, maybe a guy like Drew Brown connecting with a guy like Dominic Rhymes is all you needed to win those.
Yeah. Yeah. I really think so. Obviously, the numbers, it's crazy that they're in that many games considering they're 9th in defense and 8th in offense. It's like, what? But I don't know. Let's see. It's going to be fun to watch the Redblacks. I am going to sprinkle this one though. All right. I'm definitely betting this one, as far as the over, and I am going to sprinkle the plus 750 to win the East. Look, before we get to the final team in the East, the Toronto Argonauts, I want to tell you that you're listening to the CFL Gambling Podcast, and please subscribe. Hop on over there. Go to iTunes, Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts at. And if you can, give us a 5-star review. You give us a 5-star review, I think we could figure out a way to send you some SGPN merch. Of course, we'll read that review on air. So hop on over there and do that. And also YouTube, hit that like, hit that subscribe button. Tell a friend. We're building this thing. But the CFL Gambling Podcast is brought to you by Rhythm. Yes, if you're betting on NBA player props, then you need to download Rhythm. That's RITHMM. Rhythm gives you a menu of the best player props for every single NBA playoff game, making it easy to go through and find the best props to put your money on in seconds. Rhythm's predictions are backed by over 3 years of data and a team of data scientists and quants that focus on fine-tuning their algorithm to give you the best shot at winning. Rhythm pairs its predictions with player props with player prop graphs to help you feel even more confident in your picks, which you can make wherever you normally place your bets or DFS picks. From superstars to bench players, Rhythm finds the best player prop lines, all backed by AI data without you needing to endlessly scroll through a sports book. So what are you doing, folks? Check out Rhythm. Start a free 7-day trial. Start winning with your NBA player props with Rhythm, available wherever you get your apps. All right, we are back. Shout out to Drunken Irishman heading up to Hamilton this year to catch a game. Last year was Ottawa. Me and the boys love these Canadian strip clubs. There we go. It blends perfectly with football and drinking. We were talking about the old fashioned football podcast earlier. Yeah, football and drinking. I guess I forgot to add strip clubs in there. Let's go. I had the opportunity to go through all across Canada like 20 years ago. Started in Vancouver, ended up in Montreal, went city by city. What a great, beautiful country it is. And there's some pockets of the country that are super awesome that need CFL teams, by the way. I'm waiting for Kelowna to get a team. Let's go. But let's talk about the team that only lost twice last year. Ryan Dinwiddie, who I remember when he played quarterback of Boise State with Dan Hawkins. And if you want more on that, Dan Hawkins was just a guest on my college football show, The College Football Experience. Check that out. He came on to talk about building up Boise State, and Ryan Dinwiddie was a big part of that. 16-2 last year. How the hell did you not win a Grey Cup? But he did win the Grey Cup the year prior. Second best offense in all the Canadian Football League, 377.9 yards per game. And the fifth ranked defense, 357.1 yards they gave up. The over-unders 8.5 wins, which might be shocking. 16-2. What? Plus 420 to win the East. Okay. I don't know what to make of the Chad Kelly thing. He showed up to camp. He's not. So we don't know what the hell is happening there. But we saw them just sign Nick Arbuckle, right? They got Brian Scott, who we saw with the Philadelphia Stars in the USFL. And then I know Cameron Dukes is the other guy. So do you expect Kelly to be out the whole year?
They originally said he's suspended at least 9 games. He has to do like classes. He has to pass some tests. I don't know if these are like with a therapist type thing of, how to not sexually harass people now that you've done it 8 times or however many times it's been. But the Arbuckle signing is interesting to me. To me, that shows that they think they may be without him. It could just be about adding a veteran. I mean, this is a guy that he had been with the Argos a while back. He was with Ottawa. And they have Cameron Dukes and Brian Scott, who were both rookies to the CFL last year. So maybe it was just about adding a veteran presence now that all the stories of Chad Kelly decided to leave training camp, not to cause a distraction, or was removed. I don't know which story to believe. I've seen them both. But I kind of get the feeling they're planning on being without him for longer than 9 games.
Well, hear me out. And I'm going to show the transactions and what happened in the offseason in a second. But to me, we know that they have one of the better offensive lines in the CFL. Yeah. I think you could argue it's the best. Dinwiddie has been a winner. He played in the league. I think he's kind of a cutting edge coach, in my opinion. And when you have an offense like this, I know they got hit in free agency some. But if Kelly comes back, he's only missing half the year.
Right.
So, I mean, if he's back and playing, you got to love the over 8.5, because it's not like they're going to be 0-9 through the first 9. I would highly doubt that. And then 420 to win the East. To me, if you got the team with the best offensive line plus 420 odds to win the East, I will sprinkle that. And I know they lost Alouette to the former Ohio Bobcat running back to Saskatchewan. They lost their top corner, Quantrez Stiggers, to the Atlanta Falcons in the NFL, and they lost both their defensive linemen. That, like I said, I think 14 combined sacks, if memory serves me correct, to the Hamilton Ticats, who are in division. So there are concerns there, but when you still look at what they have, okay, I don't know what to make of the quarterback spot, but I feel like with the best offensive line in the league, that's only a bonus to me. If you can just have average play, you'll find ways to win games. Kadeem Carey is the big one. I think you circle. He comes in from the Calgary Flames. They took a first round wideout in Kevin Meidel. You mix him with they have a great nucleus of wideouts with Devarius Daniels and DeMonte Coxey. And their defense still has studs. So, like, what the hell am I missing here? I thought I was a bit surprised that it was 8.5. I thought it would be more like 10.
Yeah, this is surprising. And they were the favorite to win the division until the Chad Kelly news broke. And to drop to plus 420 doesn't make a lot of sense to me. If you haven't watched the CFL, there are games where they will rest like their starting quarterback, right? They'll give that backup experience. Cameron Dukes and Brian Scott both started games last year and won games. So it's not like these guys don't have any experience winning games at the CFL level. So that doesn't make sense to me. And I think AJ Alouette is better than Kadeem Carey. He's younger for sure, but I still think Kadeem Carey is a hell of a running back. This is a guy that he lasted in the NFL for several years. I mean, he's a good running back. So I don't understand why they are at 8.5 wins.
I don't get it either. I'll take the over.
Yeah.
And I'll sprinkle the plus 420. I know right now that's your East division that I'm saying this. And I'm like, well, Colby, you're betting 3 out of the 4 teams. I am. And I think all 3 can hit because 8.5 to me, they were, like I said, they only lost 2 games a year ago. And then you mix in Ottawa. I think Ottawa just by their team will be better. They can't lose all those close games yet again. And Hamilton, who I really like to win the conference. Once again, you can get plus 800 to win the Grey Cup. The only one I don't like is Montreal. Now, like I said, it's not like I think Toronto. There's no way Toronto's going to put up what they did last year. To me, I expect more losses. But I think 3 of these 4 bets or 3 of these teams are lock worthy. I know that sounds crazy. You're saying you're going to lock up 3 of the 4 teams, Kobe. I am. Montreal is the only one that I feel like I could lose on. I feel like Toronto will hit. If I had to rank them in order, I would say Hamilton 1, Toronto 2, Ottawa 3. But I still feel pretty damn good about those 3. How about you? If you had to rank them or ones you feel confident saying locks?
Hamilton is a lock for sure, and then Toronto. The other 2 for Ottawa, I took the under. I can see it being really close though, so I'm not as confident on them as you are. I see your argument for it for sure. I just can't do it. A team that has unfortunately such a losing culture, especially when they can't win games at home. So Hamilton and Toronto's over the locks for me.
Yeah. All right. Well, look, folks, it's just a quick 45-minute episode here because there's only 4 teams in this division, but we'll be back in a week talking the West division, which will be a little longer of an episode, obviously, because there's more teams, but also like we said, we're going to touch on those props. There's props out there of, FanDuel, get on over there, check out them. And they have win totals for every single team in the league. So maybe you want to watch along and see what we do. So you got a week to catch up and say, well, I got this team hitting the over, this one hitting the under. Check us out. Give J-Mark a follow on Twitter at JMark Football. Also check out the Old Fashioned Football podcast because, folks, we're just getting started. We're going to be previewing every single game that's played in the CFL this year. All right. Every single game. So check it all out. I'm on Twitter at TheColbyD. The CFL Gambling Podcast is on Twitter at CFL Gambling Pod. Hit that follow and shout out to Drunken Irish. We love me some football. Me too, buddy. If you can't tell. Same with J-Mark. But yeah, check out the CFL Gambling Podcast. Once again, hop over to iTunes, Spotify, give us a nice review there. We also host the UFL Gambling Podcast. That season, in some key weeks now. Well, the playoffs are coming. You have kind of 2 useless weeks in a way because we kind of have the playoffs figured out. But check out the UFL Gambling Podcast. Check out the Sports Gambling Podcast. And I host the College Football Experience as well as the FCS College Football Experience. And we have a brand new one, the Stadium Heads Podcast, where we talk about all the great college football stadiums out there. And I know Michael, who's Michael Barker, College Football Campus Tour. I know he's got a CFL trip planned to go to a bunch of CFL stadiums. So check him out. I highly urge you to, because he's a maniac. And it's great he travels to every single college game. He goes to like 30 games a week. He's like the fucking Rolling Stones in 1969, just going to a different city every single night. So check that out. And also check out, like I said, big week with NASCAR, big week in the racing world, Formula One Gambling Podcast. Check out those 2. And we got you covered here. Until next time, folks, this is the CFL Gambling Podcast. You better start thinking about yours. And we out of here.
Redblacks 1 7 1. I'm not saying I'm impossible to outsmart my body.
body and soul are nothing without heart. And I'm not saying I'm impossible to outrun. My body and soul are nothing without love. And I'm not saying I'm impossible to outdo. My body and soul are nothing without truth. And I'm not saying it's impossible, but you're nothing without yourself. With the obsession to be a part of that, started that. Mind over matter don't matter in the market. I've seen much smarter cats have heart attacks. Largely cause leaders need lambs to be lethargic. Match wits with the half-wit phantom. I